Well, howdy do, y'all. I'm doing something different here, and I've never attempted a project like this before, so we'll see how it comes out. As you've heard me say in countless videos, that I use this medium, as therapy. Most of you know we lost our son Seamus to leukemia. He had this brutal strain of ALL that they treated. He went into remission for about 10 months, but when it came back, they just couldn't do anything about it. So, and I've done videos where I've talked just about him, but I haven't done anything quite like this where I've just gathered so many pictures we had at him. And I thought, well, then I started putting it together that I would record maybe a little narration to see how it came out. Anyways, and the honest truth is I wanted to put all these together so I can probably use it as a backdrop in other videos when I talk about him when you see me sitting in front of the whatever. But anyway, that picture there, this first picture is Seamus at the garden at Children's Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri. Whenever he was able to get up, he loved to get out there. Again, I want to say these pictures aren't in any particular order. They're random. They're mostly of Seamus, but you might see a shot of me or my wife. I'm not sure if I got us in there or not, but I know my daughter Callista and the grandkids pop in a couple pictures. So um, I hope, again, I recorded this for an hour, so watch it increments or don't watch it at all. Like I said, I probably will use it as a backdrop, and I just start as I kept putting pictures together, I found I couldn't stop myself. So I hope you're able to watch it. And if not, well, that's okay too. Hey, this one was one of my Facebook friends, and I don't know if she wants me to mention her name here, so I'm not going to. But there was a run where she lives, and she supported Shay. This was from the back of her shirt, I believe. I love Shay. She also, excuse me while I take a drink here to wet my whistle. Um, she also knew comic book illustrator Larry Hama, and she got Mr. Hama to send Seamus some pictures, and they were just so awesome. It just lit Seamus up. Seamus, I won't say a comic book junkie, but he definitely appreciated certain comic books. Those that spoke to him. He liked the more intellectual ones because he was an incredibly smart guy. He also appreciated the great illustration. So it was just incredible of her to do this for Shay to put his name on the back of her shirt was just amazing. Oh mercy! I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this whole video. I'm al- uh, I've just started and I'm already getting choked up. So wow. I'm gonna quit talking for a minute, take a drink, and let you look at the picture. Oh yeah. Again, the pictures that we have that Mr. Hammond sent were just incredible, and he autographed one very nice one for him. It was just so amazing, and it was just nice of. I mean, I didn't ask her. She's just an amazing person. I'd like to mention her name, but I'm not sure she wants it known, so I'm not going to. But it was just so incredible of her to do that for Seamus, and it just meant so much to him at the time. Uh, uh, During the time Seamus had leukemia, we just encountered so many nice people for different reasons. Shay just brought out the best in people. He really did. He was just an amazing guy. People always described him as an old soul. He didn't seem, we lost him when he was 14 years old, and he didn't seem like a 14-year-old. He had the playful mind and energy of a 14-year-old, but he also had the intellect, and he had the ability to hold incredibly adult conversations as if he were an adult. Sometimes it was hard to believe he wasn't, but he was only 14. When when we lost him. This was a Christmas present. He was a Boston Celtics fan. Don't know why, but he was. I grew up in Southern California, so I was always a Lakers man. But he had a thing for Boston. Oh gosh, I'm on here. I can't remember. Uh, Rondo from Boston. That was his favorite player. He liked him because he played selflessly. He was hard basketball player, but he wasn't a glory hound. Seamus really disliked glory hounds. I'm not going to mention other players' names, but there's a few he didn't like that he thought just cared more about themselves than their team. He just didn't like that at all. Um, just before he was diagnosed with leukemia, Seamus actually played basketball for his middle school. Um, and Seamus wasn't necessarily a very athletic guy. Unfortunately, his dad isn't very athletic, so he didn't have a lot of chance. But he played basketball. What the coaches loved about him was that he tried hard and he improved the most from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. He was voted the most improved player. And he always gave 100%. He was just always there and he always tried hardest. And that he was always good for team morale. When there were times when the team was, they had a couple game loss streak and the team was getting down on themselves and each other. And Seamus was the guy that kind of helped bring them back. Um, and he was just that kind of guy. He had the respect of all the jocks, even though he wasn't necessarily a jock. He just tried hard all the time, and that's why the coaches and the players loved him. That's what was so interesting about the memorial we had for him. We had folks from every clique imaginable uh, in middle school get up and say something about him because he just he resonated with everybody. So that picture there. Um, that was from our last Christmas with him. It was at our daughter Callista's house, and he was holding uh, his nephew Ben. Oh, oh, he loved being an uncle. It meant a lot to him. Uh, oh my goodness, I'm gonna take a little breather and I'll tell you about this one. Oh, again, I don't know if the person in the photograph with Seamus wants her name mentioned, so I'm not going to. But that was the uh, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember if she was. I think she was the occupational therapist. Yeah, they have occupational and physical. No, that was his occupational therapist. Um, and they would do different things together. She really loved Seamus. Seamus loved to cook, and part of occupational therapy, you can do a lot of cooking. So most of his sessions were in the kitchen there at Children's Hospital. They could go in and so what Seamus would do, she would allow Seamus to formulate a recipe. And she would go pick up the ingredients, and then he would then prepare it in their kitchen. And that was just awesome occupational therapy. And part of the occupational therapy was, for the patient to do most of the work. She wanted to see because it helps them move their hands and everything. So she would have Seamus chop all the vegetables and do everything. And one of the favorite things uh, the recipes that Seamus had that she loved was his grilled cheese. He put together this crazy grilled cheese sandwich. It used, gosh, I hope I can remember now. It used Monterey Jack cheese, Gruyere, uh, American cheese. It's the reason you put American cheese in a grilled cheese sandwich is it helps when you if you add it with the natural cheese, it helps it all melt together. But anyway, there's let's see, American. Gier. Oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. American and provolone, and then on the bread he used some shaved Parmesan and grill it. So you had the 5 cheese grilled cheese, and that sandwich was just brutally amazing. Uh, oh goodness. That picture there was in 2012, just before Seamus's relapse, when Stuart Picard from the Ginge Real Ale Trail visited us over Thanksgiving, and we took Stuart and Seamus and I went to Springfield Brewing Company. They serve food, so it was okay to have him in there. But they also brewed their own root beer, and Seamus was a root beer junkie. If you guys heard me talk before about that, we used to try to uh, we'd look for gourmet root beers everywhere we went, and that was from that trip. And then this one obviously is Seamus' sister Callista, our daughter Callista. Uh, she's just a amazing. She was an amazing sister and mother, and that was when Ben was very little. Yeah, that was unfortunately that was after the relapse. After we were back at the hospital, it was at that was at that was at Easter. Oh my gosh. Uh, at that time, Seamus had been improving, vastly improving, and they thought, well, he hadn't gone into remission yet. The numbers hadn't come back. It was just after the third induction, and nothing had come back yet. But he'd been getting much stronger that they were thinking about letting us out of the hospital for a few days at that point. But it was right before it was right before the cancer came back. But at least his sister got to come up and see him on his last Easter. Of course, like like most siblings, they had periods where they didn't like each other. They got along great when he was a baby. Then as he got older and she hit her teenage years, they didn't get along for a little bit. But then the last few years, they were extremely close. Seamus really loved her, and she really loved Seamus too. Oh goodness, that was such a great picture. We always loved that picture. Oh mercy, that was that was a Shamu back at the hospital. It was a picture after his godparents, Chris and Cheryl, came up and visited for a weekend. I believe it was right before, right after St. Patrick's Day, somewhere in that neighborhood. I believe they brought him a video game or a movie or something. I don't remember exactly yet. That's what he was doing. Oh, this is a guy I want to mention his name. I hope he doesn't mind. It's one of Seamus's Pedal the Cause team members. His name was Ian, and Ian and Seamus. Oh my gosh, they really got along amazingly well. Seamus described Ian as a smarter version of his dad. Ian had a similar sense of humor to me, but he was a much more intelligent guy. Yeah. But that's wow, uh, mercy. That was at one of the Pedal the Cause functions. That was a banquet they held. Um, gosh, I don't remember what time of the year that was now. But Seamus just loved that Pedal the Cause team, and they were so good to Seamus and us. We couldn't have got by without them. It was just amazing what they did. this is such a great organization to peddle the cause. Oh, see, I didn't realize I doubled up on that pic. Darn it. I was trying to focus and do it right, but there you go. Peddle the Cause is a great organization. It started in St. Louis, and now they have a chapter in San Diego, California as well. But the great thing about, excuse me, sorry about that. Uh, the great thing about them is every penny you donate goes to cancer research. If you in St. Louis, every penny you donate goes to cancer research right there in St. Louis. Um, and that was important to Seamus, so that's why he got behind that cause, and they got behind him, and they rode for him specifically for the 2 years. So, I mean, there's a lot of great organizations, a lot of great charities to donate to, but that one is so important because it was about research, it was about finding a cure, and every penny you donate goes to research. It doesn't go to administrative costs. You see, I told you these weren't in any particular order. Seamus was a little younger there. I think he was about 10 there, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I think it was about 10, yeah. Wow, that's a great picture. That's obviously me there on the right, and his uncle Chris on the left. And he'd got some water guns, so not water guns. I apologize, Nerf guns. So we're all posed there and looking ominous on the patio. Uh, he had a there was a couple friends in the neighborhood that really got into this Nerf gun thing at that particular time. So there was about a 2 year period where he just collected these various types of Nerf guns. So that's what we were doing there. Our wives are on the patio that day, but they're one of them is taking a picture, the other one's trying to stay out of the picture. Uh, that was a good day. We were all playing there in the backyard. I was grilling. You can't see the grill there at the moment, but I was doing some grilling, and we were all having fun out in the back with the Nerf guns. There's a program in Springfield called Wolf. It's just for fifth graders. They only accept so many. I don't remember the exact number now. There's so many boys, so many girls. They only have two classrooms, and it's a science-based curriculum. They a lot of the time is spent outdoors. This was during that period here too, while the Nerf gun thing. He had a lot of fun with that program. It's a great program. They would take the kids out. It was about conservation. They would teach the kids a lot about conservation. They took them out bow hunting. Oh gosh, I see. I told you these were in no particular order. As if you look at me in that picture, I'm unrecognizable because I was about 150 pounds lighter in that shot. That was actually Seamus's. I believe it was his fourth birthday. Uh, wow. We do have a minor league baseball team here in town now, Springfield Cardinals. But before they got here, we had a minor league team, an independent team called the Ozark Mountain Ducks. And he loved going to the games. We used to go to a lot of them. And a lot of times the tickets were incredibly reasonable. I mean, they were and it was a nice ballpark. Even the concessions weren't priced bad, and a lot of times you could get free tickets for the bleacher type seats. So we would go a lot, but that's what he wanted to do for his birthday that year. So that's what we did. And as I said, as I keep repeating myself, these aren't in any order. There's gosh, what was the name of this place? It was like Gulf Shores or something. It was in St. Louis. It was near one of the places we were staying. During part of his treatment, he had to be, we were able to go home, but during part of the treatment, you had to come up and stay for 2 weeks. It was an outpatient treatment, but since we lived so far away, we had to stay in St. Louis. This was near one of the hotels we were staying at on one of the times. It wasn't actually a hotel; it was a I don't know what they call that kind of place. A lot of folks, if you've got family in hospitals, you can stay there. It costs something. It's not free, but it's very reasonable, and they provide some meals, so it was nice. But anyway, this is one of the meals they didn't provide at this place, and Shay loved this type of cuisine. and then they had statues of the Blues Brothers uh, outside, Jake and Elwood. So I got a picture of him sitting by each of them. It was a great place too, man. Seamus really loved it. Oh goodness, it's one of those things we'd always planned on going back, and then things came up and we couldn't get back there. My recollection though was the food was great, service was great, and it wasn't priced bad. It wasn't any more than you'd expect. They certainly weren't priced any more than any other casual dining chain now. But it was fun. It was he was having a good day that day. We'd recently had to have his head shaved because the chemo was making his hair fall out splotchy. So I think that day or maybe the day before we went and had his head shaved. So he always felt better. Your body kind of feels odd when you're having chemo. That's why he always liked to wear those loose clothes like that in the basketball shorts. Sometimes your body feels it hurts to have anything touch it. I ride for Seamus. That's pedal the cause. This was Moose. Moose. Oh, we love Moose. Moose and his wife and Greg and Ann Rainier. Wow. Moose was one of the guys from Seamus's Pedal the Cause team. I first met Moose. We first met Moose um, on Seamus's birthday. They threw they were having a ride and a barbecue, but it happened to be on Seamus's birthday. It's when we first met his Pedal the Cause team. Um, so they kind of turned it into a birthday party for Seamus too, and that's when we met Moose. So like I said, they rode for Seamus the first year. Uh, Seamus passed away before the second ride, but they rode for him anyway. But then there's other kids you need to ride for. But Greg is still showing his support and love for Seamus, and he wrote that on one of his Pedal the Cause stickers on his jersey there. So I ride for Seamus. That was Moose. Oh goodness, yeah, Moose. Oh my goodness. Uh, some of these guys. I mean, the team is very large, and I haven't. I'm not even sure I met everybody at the team to be on the team. To be honest with you, we met quite a few, and I try to stay close with as many as possible. But Greg, uh, his wife Ann, and my wife have a lot in common. They both like to quilt, and Greg and I both like to drink craft beer, so we have certain things in common. So, but he was always so amazing to Seamus. I'm going to take a little breather here. It's just such an amazing organization. Again, I just can't stress it enough. I know there's some great organizations out there, but this one really does practice what they preach, and they're the money you donate goes to cancer research, and that's what makes them amazing. And they've got so many great people that like Greg and Ian, and then uh, David Hill and his wife Tricia. There's just so many great folks that are take part. Uh, Mike Rivard and his wife Robin. I mean, these guys were no, they not only helped Seamus and us at the time, but they've continued to help us since. And it's not something that's not necessarily part of the organization, but they just have so many wonderful people that they choose to do this. So. And we're back to Stu. While Stu was with us, he got a haircut. This picture is obvious before the haircut. I think right there, I guess Stuart was showing an interest in root beers, and Seamus really knew his root beers, gourmet root beers specifically. And I don't remember which one they're talking about there, but I believe they're talking about a certain kind of root beer there. I'm just not sure what it is. Those two spent a lot of time talking. Although Stu was a little hard to understand, but I know he just got a kick out of talking to Seamus because I think he was just amazed at um, uh, how well rounded Shay was, and how articulate Shay was for such a young guy. It was interesting to have Stu here. I mean, it wasn't all roses, I gotta admit, but it was fun and interesting to have Stu there. We had a clash of cultures a couple times, but for the most part, it was a fun. I hope it was for him anyway. It was interesting. That there's a picture in front of my mom's house at her garage. We were meeting a nephew of mine who was visiting, and he's an older guy, but uh, but he wanted to see Seamus, and they him and his wife or girlfriend, I can't remember which, and their daughter, they took us out for lunch, and that was a lot of fun. Anyway, I had a picture of them, but wasn't. I thought I had it on here, but I guess I didn't. I just got the one with Seamus there, but that's what that was from. And there he's wearing his Camp Rainbow shirt. Um, there during that period where he was in remission, he went to Camp Rainbow, and gosh, he just loved it. He met a lot of great people. It's the first time, we have a son with cancer, and it's tough enough when your child stays somewhere else for a period of time. And this was the first time he'd ever been away from us, other than spend a night somewhere here and there with a friend, But this was a whole week, and we'd never done that before, and that because of the situation he was in at the time, it was nervous. But one of the nurses that always volunteers at the camp was one of his nurses at the hospital, and they were very close, Nicole, and so we didn't necessarily worry. But I know he just really enjoyed that first, unfortunately, only experience at camp for him. Oh, that's the kitchen I was telling you about. I'm not sure exactly what he was making there. I'm trying to remember now. Oh, my mind is just messing with me now. But that was his favorite thing in occupational therapy, to work in the kitchen. So she let him do that about every chance. I think he did it about once a week because he loved working in the kitchen, made him feel good, and he got to cook his own meal. And that was, one meal you didn't have to eat hospital food. Not that the food there is terrible for hospital food, it isn't, but when you're there for that period of time, you're eating the exact same things all the time, it tends to get very old, especially for him, and he kind of felt helpless because we would, like I've mentioned before, him and I always did all the cooking together at home, and uh, a lot of the menus he formulated himself. So, but that was one that was one of our kitchen sessions there. I believe I think I can't remember if he's grating. Looks like he's grating cheese there, but I'm not sure what he's doing. Some of these pictures make me cry, some make me smile, some make me laugh a little bit, and some make me do everything all at once. Oh, goodness gracious. I just tell you, I mean, this is a holiday season. We just went through Christmas, and my wife and I are both just having a hard time as we just went through Christmas and New Year's, and every little thing is setting us off at the moment. We keep planning to have some time to relax, to kind of decompress with the two of us. And I'll be darned if there's just not something that keeps coming up that somebody else has a need they need us for. So, but anyways, hey, this is the other guy I told you about from Seamus's Put on the Costume, David Hill. David, gosh, David just loved talking with Seamus, and Seamus really, really liked David. David and his wife Trish were just so amazing to us. We had to be in St. Louis for a few days after we lost him, and David and his wife Trish were nice enough to open up their home for us and let us stay there. So they were just amazing, before with Seamus, and then after we lost him, they were just so incredible. David's a big baseball fan. He's wearing his Cardinal jacket there. So and Seamus liked baseball as well, and he was a Cardinal fan. So they would talk a lot of baseball. Basketball was really the sport he loved the most, but he did enjoy baseball too, especially going to the games. And there's Jake Blues. I believe the other one was Elwood, and here's here's Jake. Now, see, I probably should have put them together. Like I said, I didn't put these together in any order. I just kind of ran because that's how my mind works. My mind works very randomly. So that well, let's go back and forth here. Yeah, that was back at the Gold Shores restaurant. Oh goodness, that was a good day because, like I said, we just had his head shaved. He was feeling pretty good that day. You kind of had to play it. Some days you feel real good, sometimes not so much. I think that was probably about 2 days after the treatment because you're usually feeling pretty crappy the day after the treatment. And there, he wanted to get out, and he always felt better when he got his head shaved. His hair was starting to fall out evenly. So we went out to that restaurant there. We took a picture. And Seamus hated pictures. That's why I'm really upset now. I don't have more pictures of him than I do. But I kind of always respect his wishes. But that day, he was kind of having fun and hamming it up, and he didn't seem to mind the pictures that day. But most days he just didn't like the pictures, and a lot of it is because, well, a lot of days he just didn't feel good. He didn't feel like having his picture taken. I've always joked. My skin is very white, and but my wife and Seamus are even more so. And I used to joke that I'm white, but you two guys are just about translucent. I lived in California, and never could get a tan. But Shamu, boy, he was even whiter. I mean, you could see his veins right through his skin. He was damn near translucent. And, and my wife's the same way. Oh goodness. Hey, halfway there. Are you still with me, people? You see, there we go. There's from his a basketball game. He was the Pipkin was the middle school he went to. It was an international baccalaureate program. It wasn't the school that was the closest to us. You have to apply and be chosen to be there. And Amos was just well. Now, if you live in the district, you automatically can go. But if you're not in the district, you have to apply and reach certain academic requirements. And Seamus did. He just was amazingly smart. In spite of his father, in spite of who his father was, he was just a crazy smart guy. And, the thing about him though is that he seemed to have the best of both worlds. A lot of folks that are incredibly smart have no common sense, or and also have a low EQ. But he didn't. He just seemed to have the right balance of everything. It was just amazing. He really loved playing basketball. Now he knew he wasn't going to be the star of the team, nor did I think he really wanted to. He just wanted to do his part, and he did. He played hard. So he was never the best kid on the team, but all of his teammates knew he always tried so hard, and that's why they all respected him for it. And then he tried out knowing he he wasn't that great to start with, and that's why the coaches put him on the team because he just put so much effort into everything he did. On the basketball court and off. And I think a lot of the the plus to have him on the team again was just for moral support. He just had a way of lifting other folks up. He just had the greatest smile, and he seemed to always be able to say the right thing or do the right thing to make somebody smile. So, oh mercy, that was fun going to those basketball games. It was a hoot. My wife had never had to do that before. Our daughter was older and she wasn't into that sort of thing. But all of a sudden, my wife's going to basketball games. And so it was fun. Now I know I'm running this thing along, and like I said, I just put bunch of pictures in. I want to, at some point use all these pictures as kind of a backdrop when I do other videos. When I talk about Seamus, I want to be able to pull this out. So, I don't necessarily expect you to stay with me and listen to an hour. If you want to check it out every once in a while and hear a few things, that's fine. Just look at these pictures. There's a lot of folks out there that still care a lot about Seamus. So maybe some of his friends or parents of friends, we want to check these pictures out. Oh, wow. That was a great day. I mentioned the Pedal the Cause barbecue and birthday party. Well, for his birthday presents, they gave him tickets to a Rams game. And these were freaking phenomenal tickets that they gave him. There was only three of us, and they gave us four tickets. So we took David Hill with us because David was very familiar with the stadium, and we didn't realize it at the time. But David also happened to know somebody, and was able to get us on the field before the game for, I don't know, I think about an hour, maybe 30 minutes. I don't remember now, but it was a good long period of time. And Seamus took a lot of pictures. I got a picture of him with the cheerleaders that's on here. Unfortunately, I wish it came out better than it did. I just took it with using my phone at the time, which wasn't a great one. And the picture came out very fuzzy, but that was such an amazing day there at the Rams game, and they won that game. It was actually their home opener, and they won. Seamus loved all kinds of music. Um, I was big into blues when Seamus was very, where I still am, but when he was very little, so he used to go to a lot of blues shows with me. He became more of a classic rock guy, but he always appreciated blues. 'Cause that's really where classic rock came from. This was a guy named Scott Keaton. Guy's out of Oklahoma City, and it's always baffled me why he wasn't a national touring act and just a regional, because he's just so amazing. I mean, Blind Pig, Alligator, you guys should pick him up. Rough Record, somebody pick this guy up. He's just amazing. It's not that he writes some great songs, he does great covers, but he's just a great guy. He, we used to always talk to him before the shows, and this Seamus was about 3 or 4 when we had that done. Oh, good, and he signed that for him. Oh, wow. There's another one of Shamu and Ben. Poor Ben. Looks like a deer caught headlights in that shot, doesn't he? Oh, goodness. Yeah, Seamus loved going to music shows. I'm going to kind of backtrack while you watch Seamus and Ben there, but he loved Scott Keaton. Scott was one of his favorites. Scott actually didn't consider himself a blues artist. Consider himself a rock and roll artist. And what I mean by that, he's kind of that roots rock and roll guy. Not what we would call rock now, but the early rock. Rock and roll, and not just rock. And Scott was just so amazing in it. Seamus just loved him. Scott's one of those guys. I mean, his CDs are wonderful, but his live show is just absolutely amazing. If this guy ever comes to your neck of the woods, and I don't think he plays much out of Oklahoma area anymore, but the guy's just amazing. And that's a great shot. I love this picture. It's one of the few that I have with Seamus and Callista together, and they both look great in that shot. That was during that period of remission when he was really feeling well, and so you could see his hair was coming back there, and he was looking really well. Wow. I'm going to take a little breather before I start crying again. Like every video I do, this is completely unrehearsed and unscripted. I'm not reading from cue cards or another screen. I'm just speaking off the cuff, which is what I do in every video that I do. Um, I guess that's how I do about everything. I've always been kind of a wing it and let's just do it kind of guy. It's tough for my wife and I because we were both told by doctors we couldn't have any more kids. And then Seamus, was a blessing. I mean, he was a gift from God, and we just didn't know we were only going to have him for a short period of time. Oh, mercy. Oh. And there's some shots. I love this picture. Yeah, this is everybody. Yes, Seamus with his sister Callista, Callista's husband Charles, and my wife and I in the back there. Um, just trying to remember the occasion here. I think Callista's Aunt Cheryl usually takes most of the pictures, and I don't think she did this one though. I don't remember. There was one time where Callista had a friend come out to take the pictures, and I don't remember what occasion this was. My mind just playing tricks on me in my old age. I'm having trouble. uh, but that was nice. It was at a park in town here. It's a very nice park. Uh, so they found a nice background there. I mean, these are we didn't necessarily try to make it 100% professional. We just wanted it to look decent, and I think they do. Seamus looked great there. That was obviously during a period where he was on a lot of prednisone. And here's another one. We were still going through treatment at this time. Um, and every once in a while, they get folks that donate to the hospital, and they were donating 2 pairs of tickets to a Cardinals game, and Seamus and they gave one of the pairs to Seamus, so him and I went to a ball game. Well, Seamus and I had these were interesting seats. Um, kind of trying to explain the ballpark, but it was almost like in a private section. It was off, but anyway, we were there sitting there, and the game just started. And we're enjoying the game, and we're talking and goofing around because we always kind of goofed around with each other. Um, and then all of a sudden, we hear, "Hey!" Hear folks yelling from the background, and I'll be darned if it wasn't Ian and David who also attended the game. Now, the rub there was that they had tickets for the game. They didn't know we were going to the game. They didn't know about our tickets. They had tickets to the game that they ended up giving to somebody else for some reason, and they ended up with somebody else's tickets in the section so that they were in this section completely by accident, not knowing we were going to be at that game. And there happened to be 2 empty seats by us. They were a few rows above us. So we waved them on down, and they just climbed over everybody to get to us. So that was kind of odd. It was just Seamus and I, and then all of a sudden these other 2 guys, that meant so much to Seamus and I at the time, David Hill and Ian. Wow, that was a great day. And but you could tell again in that picture that it was during one of those periods where he was on a lot of prednisone. You could tell. Now that I'm watching these at different periods, I can really see the ones when he was on a lot of steroids at the time. Guess the kid was so tough too, man. He never complained about anything. Anytime anybody asked him how he was doing, he would tell them, he was fine. He would talk about other things. Seamus never once complained about the cancer, the treatment, never once said he felt bad. He just didn't. He was always that kind of guy. He didn't complain. He never said poor me. He never said why me. It's a damn shame more adults can't be that way. There's another one again. You could obviously tell this is one of the periods where his hair was coming out. We just got glasses. I said we. He just got some new glasses there, or not too long before that photograph there. But you could obviously tell again he's under a lot of prednisone at that time as well. I'm gonna have to stop talking for a minute, or I'm gonna start crying like a baby again. Mercy. Gosh, I miss him so much. We just did so much together that I lost my son. I lost my best friend. I lost the guy I just, liked hanging around the most. The guy whose opinion I admired the most. I mean, it just feels like, both for my wife too. That was the odd thing, or interesting thing, if not odd, is that there were lot of hobbies that they shared together, a lot of hobbies that we shared together, and some that all three of us did. But he just brought everybody together. Oh goodness. So right now, as you know, as I said, Christmas is over, New Year's is over. It's just been a brutal week, and then we've been dealing with other stuff from other folks that's really made it hard for my wife and I to kind of decompress. That was another Pedal Cause event. I believe that was right before that was the banquet before the ride, if I remember right. Because I remember that's when you got got that hoodie there. That was a banquet before the ride. They put us up at a hotel just about across the street, and then they had this banquet the night before, then the ride the next day. And here's the thing: you look at that picture, and he's smiling and laughing. He felt horrible that weekend. He just had treatment, and he was just sick, and it hurt him to move, and it hurt him to walk. So we were going to drive over, even though it was only about 2 blocks. But he insisted on walking because that's just the kind of guy he was. And you see him smiling there, you'd never know he was in any pain. And he never let on to anybody that he was in pain, and he was hurting. He was hurting bad that day. Look at that picture and see him smile. It just reminds me of just what kind of individual he was. Oh, yeah, they do an awards deal, and then they have other things after. But I remember we left shortly right after the awards because he was just so beat. But he stuck it out as long as he could, and then we went back to the room, and then he just had to crash. He just relax. But you look at him laughing right there. You can tell he's laughing, and you would have never known he was in the amount of pain he was in at that time. I just happen to remember. Oh, that's actually just another version of the same photo I showed you earlier. I had to, uh, oh gosh, I wish I could remember details. I just can't. They needed a picture of Seamus for something back at the hospital. This was after we lost him. They wanted me to send him a picture, but just kind of a headshot. So I kind of cropped that one photo where it was just that. But it's a good shot because he's doing something he enjoys, and he's just smiling big, and that's what he did a lot. He's just such a happy kid. Oh goodness. If you're still with me, there's only about 12 minutes left. You might as well hang in there. Like I said, I just start putting pictures together. Instead of making them only run 7 seconds, I stretch it out longer because I want, again, when I do other videos where I just talk about Seamus, I thought, well, I could have that kind of run in the background where you just see him as I'm talking about whatever it is I'm talking about. But like I said, I've never done a project like this before. Again, it just felt like therapy as a time at the time as I start piecing these pictures together. And at the time, to be honest with you, I wasn't planning on doing a narration, but as I put it together and I was saving the movie, I went ahead and saved it as is. And I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and try to do some narration to see if I can, you know, say something somewhat intelligible that makes some kind of sense of some kind to somebody. Oh. You see in that photo there, you could tell. I mean, his hair was growing back. This was actually shortly before we did lose him. That's why everything just kind of surprised everybody. He was really improving and doing incredibly well. You could tell he's a little bit less puffy in this shot. And then all of a sudden, the cancer just came back, and this time it kind of mutated. Oh Lord, that's Monty. They're above Seamus's Monty the monkey. This was from the first time we were there. When you first arrive, they give the kids some gifts, and Monty was one of the gifts. This was the first time you're there. We were there for 28 days. It's anywhere between 14 and a month. Usually, we were there for 28 for his first induction. And there is that pillowcase. There was one of the gifts too, the Mizzou pillowcase, and then Monty the monkey. So, you know, he poised Monty the monkey up there to have a picture with him and Monty. As you can see there, that's really before any of the treatment started. That was his original hair there. You can see how, of course, he looks so much younger, even from the photos of only a year later. But you could tell that that was before the steroids and everything else. There, you can really see he's still got that baby face before everything happened to him. I don't know why he named the monkey Monty. He didn't come with that name. For some reason, he called him Monty. So what the heck? He was Monty. We don't have a Monty in the family. But for some reason, he wanted to call the monkey Monty. So there you go. I didn't question it. It's his monkey. He can name whatever he wants. Oh, mercy. And that picture there was right after the Pedal the Cause ride. They brought members of the team and they put them up on these steps and take a picture of them there. And like I said, that this was the day after that banquet, but this day, Seamus was really, really, really sick. He was achy. It hurt everything hurt. It hurt to touch anything. And he was very sick. He couldn't eat. And there you see, there he's talking to somebody there, and he's looking at me with that little kind of half grin he would get. But they're like, "Why are you taking a picture of me, Pop?" But said as far as everybody there knew, they only knew he was feeling bad because we told him, but if Seamus would never tell anybody, he felt bad. This is another shot, yeah, the same guys. There's a kid there holding the chick. I didn't get a good shot, Tom. I didn't get how much it was. I ride for Hill Climbers. Yeah, Hill Climbers was a team that rode for him. So anyway, there's Shamu there. He's got a little smile. Uh, David Hill's wife Trish is there on one side of him, on the right side of him there. They were just such amazing people, man. We just couldn't have got by without them. They were so great to us and Seamus, and there he is smiling there. And again, I mean, that day he was in immense pain, and he would not let anybody know. We would kind of whisper to folks that and let them know that he just wasn't feeling well, but he was going to stick it out as long as he could. He got through this part here, and we went back to the room and let him rest shortly after. But the better part of the ride was over at this point. We were just getting the pictures. This was a great one. Again, this is the picture I was telling you about earlier that I wish I could have got a better shot of. I would have got two shots if I'd realized how fuzzy it was. But Seamus was a very reserved guy. So for him the cheerleaders, knew of his situation, so they'd agreed to pose with him, and he's got that little smile on his face. I mean, again, if you know Seamus, this isn't something he would typically do. He's a very reserved, kind of shy guy, and there you go. But yeah, it was great. We got three of the cheerleaders there with him. It was just fun. That was a great day. It was happened to be one of the few games the Rams won that year. It was their opener, and it was also the debut of RG3, who was supposed to be so wonderful, and we kind of kicked our keisters that day. So I'm going back. Oh goodness. Seamus had perfect attendance all through elementary school. In fact, he had perfect attendance all through school until he, came down with leukemia. But this is the trophy he got because he had because he had perfect attendance. The kid was just never sick. People think I'm kidding when I tell them this, but he wasn't. He never had so much as a cold. He never had the flu, not once in his entire life. He had the perfect immune system, and that's why it was always so baffling to us when he was diagnosed with cancer that he no longer had an immune system. With leukemia attacks the immune system. It just blew us away. So how can a kid that's got this perfect immune system all of a sudden have this immune system attack him? It was just even to this day, I mean, I have nightmares. That's back. That's again. This is the banquet before the pedal the cause ride, and you see him smiling there. And they had a nice buffet set up for food, and he had a hard time eating that day. But every time, anytime anybody saw him, he had a smile on his face. He never let on. Uh, he never he never let on how much he was hurt, and he was really hurt that day. But man, if he wanted to do something, there wasn't anything going to stop him. Oh. I just love that smile he had. I always get this kind of, little grin like that. Usually meant knock it off. Yeah. He did. He really, 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 even before the cancer, he really hated having his picture taken. He wasn't a center of attention guy. He didn't need accolades. He just wanted to do what he did. He didn't really want or need a lot of attention. This was his Presidential Education Awards Program certificate, where he's got the signature of the president on there, as you can see. That's from 2012. It's from 2012. Huh. That was shortly before we lost him, yeah, in 2013. But yeah, he was amazing. I mean, he loved school. He loved to learn. And it wasn't necessarily that things came easy for him, because not everything did. But he just worked so hard at everything. He got A's, but they weren't necessarily a piece of cake for him. But I think that's what he enjoyed the most. He loved having to. If he didn't know something, he would search and search and search and search and search until he found the answer. I mean, he loved doing. He seemed to enjoy doing research. And that's another one from that. That's what he didn't know I was taking the picture. He's just looking around, so he's kind of got that serious look. But again, you could tell from this photo, how that he's really on a lot of prednisone at that point. And this is another time, I mean, he had a great time that day. He had a lot of fun at that football game. He really loved having the picture taken with the cheerleaders. But he was in a lot of pain that day. He was really hurt and had, you had to walk a long way to get to the seats and everything else and up and down the stairs. And he was in a lot of pain doing so and never let anybody know that he was. As his parents, we just knew, we know certain looks and we knew he was hurt. But to anybody else, they would have never known that this kid has cancer and he's just in such immense pain. It was just he was just amazing.